Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We're back for another Friday stream. Just hanging out. I'm going to post on the Discord real quick that we're live. And here we go. Happy Halloween. I forgot it was Halloween. Maybe I should wear a costume. Trying to see if I have a hat, like a funny hat. I completely forgot it was Halloween, to be honest. That's kind of, I guess that kind of tells you where I'm at in life. I used to be very excited about Halloween. I'm about to go to work. Milk and honey at Saturn gonna be nuts. Nice. I can go put on a onesie. I don't think I have any like funny hats. Uh, am I still playing Scrabble? Infrequently. Sometimes I open up the app and play a game or two, but I definitely my obsession with it tapered out a little bit. But I still play here and there. I'll probably get back into it. It's one of those things where my interest kind of goes up and down. It's sort of like chess too. Like I'll be like super obsessed with chess for like 6 months and then I just will stop playing. It's similar with Scrabble. How's life? Life is okay. Are you familiar with the Aquabats? I'm like vaguely familiar. I've heard people talk about the Aquabats. I couldn't tell you what they look like. Oh, I see. Oh, you're dressed like one of them? Okay. What are your thoughts on Hurricane Melissa? What are my thoughts? I mean, I'm I'm I oppose hurricanes, I guess. I haven't really kept up with the news. I know it's been devastating in the Jamaica Caribbean area, and it's bad. I don't know what opinion would be expected. I feel like I'm too bright. Hold on a sec. It's a little bit better. Mary dressed up as Nacho Libre again. I think I saw a picture of that on Facebook. You're still exploring your channel favorite indie comics. Indie comics? I don't know if I'm like I don't really keep up with comics. I used to a long time ago, like when I was a kid. Do you mean comic books or do you mean comics as in comedians? I imagine comic books. I guess it would make more sense for comic books. You said we could just say hi, so hi from a longtime fan. Hello. T1J Pro Hurricane. I've always struggled with chess because the ceiling of possibilities just feels way too high and overwhelming. Have you ever experienced this with games? Yeah, and I think that's true of chess. You have to manage your expectations when you play chess. It's like one of the hardest games ever, and the highest level of chess, which is like grandmaster level, is like literally unattainable. Like if you're an adult and you're not a grandmaster, you almost certainly will never be a grandmaster. So you just have to like understand that that's the case and manage your expectations. But something like if you like really study chess really hard and like really get into it, you could get like 2000 rating, and that I think that's a good sort of upper limit to shoot for. But even that requires a lot of like dedicated practice. So it just depends on how much you want to put into it. Everybody kind of has their own sort of level that they want to get to. Like I used to play League of Legends, and I wanted to I was like, if I get gold, I'm good. And so I like practice and I got gold and then I just stopped playing. But some people might have higher aspirations for games like that. Like I got really into Overwatch, and I didn't quite reach the goal that I wanted to get in Overwatch because the game's hard. But maybe I'll get it one day. Do you think Trump is using tax dollars to build his ballroom? Do you think the economy is heading in a really bad direction? I have no idea what Trump is doing. And I haven't really followed the data on the economy, but I definitely don't trust this administration to do anything good with the economy. I don't think the success of the economy is a priority for this administration. What's up, Last Gamurai? I really think that I should do something more Halloweeny. I'm trying to think how long it would take for me to put on a onesie or something. That would be too disruptive to the stream. I should have thought about that. Are the days of well-written TV comedy no more? No, I think there's plenty of well-written TV comedy, and there continues to be. I feel like it's. I think well-written TV. I think TV comedy is more well-written, more. At least since the 2010s, TV comedy has been more well-written than it's ever been. I think, but I think there's plenty of good comedy shows, like Abbott Elementary, um, It's Always Sunny, What We Do in the Shadows. I think there's a lot of good ones. I got gold one time and haven't really played ranked then, just play ARAMs with Chris. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, I think Chris is always trying to get me to play ARAMs. I don't know, when I play a competitive game, I'm a really competitive person. I like to prove myself and I like the idea of like ranking up and stuff. But it can get very it can get frustrating in a game like League. Did you hear what Devon Dudley said about Jim Ross? I saw the YouTube thumbnail. Did he say something about Jim Ross being racist? I didn't hear the actual details of what he said, but I saw a YouTube thumbnail about that. What's the most comically ironic Halloween costume you could wear? For me, I'm going as an F1 driver, and I'm a 35-year-old who never went for his driver's license. Comically ironic. I don't know. I could dress up as a Republican or something. I don't know if that's ironic. I don't know if that's the definition of irony. What kind of superhero movies, TV shows you want to be made in the future? I'm hoping for Static Shock and a Blade movie. I don't know. I feel like they have made everything that I wanted to be made. We'll see. I would like to see. Well, I want to see what MCU is going to do with X-Men. But that's probably going to get made. So, but like back in the day, the comics that I liked the best were X-Men, of course. And X-Men, they had their run of movies. I also love Daredevil, and they've made several series of an amazing Daredevil show. And I love Black Panther, and they made an amazing Black Panther movie. So they kind of nailed everything that I really wanted to see. I want to see more X-Men, and I want to see Rogue done well. I have yet to see Rogue done well on the big screen. No hate towards Anna Paquin or whatever her name is, but I want to see, the Southern Belle Rogue. I tend to get ranked down if I play with friends, and I prefer playing with friends, so I stick with that. That's honestly fair. I'm a little more chill now, where I'm not so obsessed with winning every game. But yeah, that makes sense. I remember years ago one of your streams you said hi to my rats. Cool. I mean, that sounds that sounds right. I'd probably do that. How long ago was that? I just want to say hi and keep up the good work. I recently saw your video on Roseanne and was really impressed. Looking forward to watching more of your stuff. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. Out to wander with the kids. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you. How are you celebrating today? I don't imagine that I am doing anything. I rarely leave my house these days. But I might go put on a onesie for the stream at least. The problem is, well, actually, because it's kind of cold, and the onesie would actually helping me be warm. If I remember where it is, at least. Yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can put it on really fast, because I feel like I should do something Halloweeny. So here's a game for you: is to guess what character the onesie is. I think I only have a few. I have like 3 or 4 of them. So you'll have to guess what character I come back as. One sec. If you guess Pikachu, you win. If there are people in the I mean, there's at least one person in the chat that actually knows me and has probably seen me wear this before. So, what's your favorite Muppet? My favorite Muppet. I don't know. I have to think about it real quick. James, thank you for the $20. You're a cool cat, and I like watching your videos. I cling to sitcoms in this increasingly fascist landscape. It makes me feel less insane. Thanks to you and to Jose for making me feel less alone. I appreciate your kind words. Shout out to Jose. Jose makes really great sitcom videos as well. Turns out putting on a onesie does not take long. It's very fast. So yeah, I was thinking about my favorite Muppet. Probably Gonzo. No, actually, Dr. Teeth. That's the best Muppet. Is that his name, Dr. Teeth? He's like the he's in the band with Animal. The dude has swag. Bort Sampson. I want to see The Color Purple with an all Japanese cast. Interesting. Is the music. Can you guys hear the music, by the way, in the background? And if so, is it too loud? Are you stoned because I'm high right now? Thank the voters, it's legal in my state. I am not stoned. I personally do not like to be high in front of other people because when I am high, I am weird and also self-conscious and anxious. So doing that in public or in front of other people is usually not a good idea. Do you have a favorite Halloween episode from a sitcom? Well, it's not technically a Halloween episode, but it's a scary episode. The Scream episode of Boy Meets World. It's entitled "And Then There Was Sean." It's maybe the best episode of Boy Meets World. And a lot of people think it's a Halloween episode, but it's actually not. It's just a random scary episode they did in the middle of winter. But that's one of my favorites for sure. I've been watching Martin, which is a great show if you've never seen it. And I just recently watched the Halloween episode in the first season, and it's pretty good too. Also, the episode of Family Matters with Stevel, that creepy ventriloquist doll that looks like Steve Urkel. Those are pretty creepy. You can't hear any music. It might be too low. Aaron Weiss, what's good, bros? Just stop by to drop some love. I appreciate that. I don't ever think I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen you stoned. Yeah. Well, part of that is because I don't like being stoned in front of people. If I am, it's usually by myself. But also, for most of my adult life, my drug of choice has been alcohol. And since I've toned down the alcohol, I've replaced it with more cannabis. But that's all. That's usually done alone. And I don't. I had to. I can't even like smoke, which is kind of like how you would normally socially consume cannabis is through smoking. But I can't really smoke anymore because it fucks with my allergies. Like it resembles like a really strong pollen allergy. So I have to use like gummies and edibles and stuff. Which I don't prefer, by the way. I kind of hate edibles, but you got to do what you got to do. Do I know what sitcom my next video is going to be about? Not necessarily. I have a lot of things that I'm working on, but I probably wouldn't say even if I did know cuz I don't really like to spoil it. I'm sure I'm not the demo you expect, but as a Gen X mom of 3, I absolutely love your channel. You make great videos. I'm a huge fan. To you in the chat, have a very happy Halloween. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um I probably most of my audience are millennials, but Gen X makes sense. But mostly raw dogging life recently. What does that mean? My edible hasn't kicked in yet, but I agree. I only like getting stoned around people I'm comfortable with. Yeah, I don't even like getting stoned around people I'm comfortable with. I just like being alone. Like maybe, which is funny because alcohol also makes me act weird and foolish. But the thing is, when you're drunk, you don't care. When you're high, you're super self conscious and anxious about it the whole time. What about methamphetamines? Never tried them. I find alcohol so much harsher and worse on my body than weed. Well, yeah, that's probably true for everybody. That's one of the reasons why I've toned it down quite a bit. I used to party, we'll just put it that way. I used to like to party. But I'm an old now, so I wish I could still party. I kind of miss the fun and social atmosphere, but I literally can't handle it anymore. Never tried cannabis though. I'm not against it, but I'm 20 and I've decided not to try cannabis before my brain is fully developed. That's totally logical and also very like what's the word? It's very self-aware of you and I admire that. And that's probably a very good idea. I support that idea. Sorry if there's a delay or just an influx of messages. Yeah, I don't know. I try to answer a lot of questions. Sometimes I scroll back and answer old questions that I missed. Um, so it's possible that I will respond to your question like 10 minutes after you post it. It's also possible I just will miss your message, so That's just how it goes with the chat. You can try asking again if you want. Like in general, you know, I would not honestly, I would just not recommend anyone drink alcohol. It's just as a person who's drank a lot of alcohol, it's it can lead to a lot of fun days, but it could also lead to some of the worst days of your life. Skibbity boo! Thank you for the 20. When you're stoned, the best thing to do when nervous is to raise your arm and squirt your underarm juice at their face before walking away. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Underarm juice, that's disgusting. No, oh, raw dogging life, no mood altering substances. Okay, I feel that. Nowadays, I drink wine and craft beer like the bougie bitch I am. I don't miss partying mainly because too introverted, too fucking weird, and the people I used to party with were actually bad and dangerous, so no longer in that crowd. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you're in that sort of party lifestyle, you definitely meet a lot of rough folks. But I think eventually you kind of like weed out the people that you don't want to be around, and you just pick the ones that you like. And I guess being introverted will make someone, you know, averse to social activities. Being weird doesn't matter though. Everybody's a little weird. I think that some people, if people, I think at first glance, people might think that I'm an introvert because I'm a very chill and kind of reserved guy. But I don't know. I love being around people, and that's one thing that I had to learn during the pandemic is to learn how to enjoy being alone because I guess I'm an extrovert because I feel like being around people like gives me energy, makes me feel nice. Bugaton, thanks for stopping by. Happy Easter. Okay. Preach despite me drinking alcohol. Yeah, I mean, I feel like after a certain age, I think everyone, even if you drink alcohol, it's like it's not. It's there's too many negatives. I mean, maybe when you're really young, there are less negatives, but you never know, man. Alcohol it could be the cause of one bad night that like ruins your whole life or ruins a portion of your life. It's a very weird substance. My favorite holiday, nice costume. Thank you. I actually forgot that it was Halloween when I first started the stream, and so I was like, "Well, I should probably celebrate." So I went and put this on. I have 3 or 4 of these onesies that I just these are just my sort of emergency costumes. Vegan White Rose, thanks for stopping by. Happy Halloween. Funny enough, I'm hosting a Halloween party tomorrow. I would love to host a Halloween party actually. I just don't have the space for it. I live in a tiny apartment. I think that's that's going to be my substitute for partying, is to just host light gatherings when I have the space. I did it for so long. I'm good. I know what it does. I know what the people are like. Yeah. Yeah, nowadays when it comes to alcohol, at least, when I don't know, whenever I'm asked about it, I'm just like, yeah, just don't do it. It's fine. But it seems like the younger people are less likely to drink alcohol than my generation anyway. Seems like it's less cool these days. Maybe because they see how idiotic we are, or we were. There's probably a lot of like Gen Z people with like alcoholic millennial parents that are like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm the go-to party hoster because all my friends are 20 somethings and I'm the one with the biggest apartment for some reason. Well, somebody's got to have the biggest apartment, I guess. Maybe I should change the thumbnail for this video to me with the Pikachu. Nah, I'll let it be a surprise. I'm definitely not the go-to party hoster in my friend group, but I do often feel like I'm the not the planner, but the guy who gets the ideas going. Like I'm like, let's do this. Let's go on a trip. Let's go to the beach. I feel like I'm always the one that comes up with the ideas. Wait, hold on. Actually, I think I'm gonna change the thumbnail. I gotta remember how to do that. Q. Oh no. Hold on one second. I'm trying to change this thumbnail. Real Gus Smooth stopping by to say hi. Love your vids. Love the costume. Thank you. As we're growing up, my parents were arguably functioning alcoholics. Definitely showed me what I did not want to do. Yeah, that's fair. I think that with me, because my family definitely was not are not big drinkers, or at least the side of the family that I grew up with, not very big drinkers. So I think I had to do a lot of I didn't have to, but I ended up doing a lot of experimentation. To and it was excessive for sure. Like I said, I used to party. Sorry if the stream is skipping. I had to open up a program real quick. Everything is bleak. David S. Pumpkins. Jesting Joker, what's up? Happy Halloween. Fish are friends, not food. Happy Halloween. Do I know the David S. Pumpkin skit? I do know it. I did a video about it actually. Big Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Um well, if we're talking about the shows, then definitely Are You Afraid of the Dark? But if we compare the Goosebumps books to the Are You Afraid of the Dark show, I might have to go with the books. But in terms of the shows, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a better show, in my opinion. Or it's a scarier show, put it that way. Although with Are You Afraid of the Dark, like the intro sequence was scarier than all of the actual scary stories. But that alone makes that show like very memorable. It has like one of the most memorable intro sequences of all time. It's that genre of humor that's hard to nail, completely goofy and senseless. Yeah, that absurdist kind of humor. SNL does that a lot, actually. But I like that kind of stuff. It's getting late, so I gotta go, but it was fun being on the stream. All right, Phony, thanks for stopping by. Do you have any friends slash family that think celebrating Halloween is immoral? Probably. I mean, when I was growing up, like my mom and my mom's side of the family is all very Christian. And when I was growing up, um, they did not celebrate Halloween, and I think they thought it was bad to celebrate Halloween because anything involving like ghosts and spirits and demons and devils and stuff. It's the satanic panic type stuff. So I did deal with that growing up, but it seems like everybody kind of relaxed about that as time went on. Um, so I don't know. But after a while, I just became an adult and just did whatever I wanted, and I didn't really ask about it. So it's possible that a lot of people still didn't like it, but um, I just never talked to them about it because it's not really their choice to make once you're an adult. What's up, Cracked? Did you read Harry Potter when growing up? I didn't read it when growing up. I read the first 3 books as an adult, and they're fine, I guess. I meant to continue reading them, but I just kind of fell off. And now it's like not cool to talk about Harry Potter, I guess. So there's no social pressure for me to read it anymore like there used to be. But yeah, I didn't read them when I was a kid. It wasn't really on my radar when I was growing up. But I eventually started reading them, but I was like in my mid-20s when I first read them. Headed to work. Have a good Halloween and good stream. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day at work. Favorite horror film franchise. Favorite horror film franchise. Franchise? I don't know. I don't. Because the problem is most horror franchises, like the franchise as a whole, is bad. But there's like good individual movies in there. Surprisingly, the Chucky franchise is pretty good. Like I feel like there are more okay to good Chucky movies than bad ones, which you wouldn't expect. The thing, like, if you think about all of the classic horror franchises, they're full of terrible movies. You know, like Michael Myers is like one of the most iconic horror characters ever, but there's like one good Halloween movie. They're all bad. Or like Friday the 13th. All of those movies are bad. There's like 2 good Freddy Krueger movies. They're all bad. You know? Then there's stuff like Saw. All those movies are bad except the first one. And the first one it was like when you first saw it for the first time, you're like, oh, this is something different. But is it a good movie? I'm trying to think of if there's a franchise that just has many good movies in it. And I'm not the biggest horror guy, so it's not like I'm sort of a horror expert. I've more recently tried to get more into horror because in my early adult life, I kind of avoided it because I don't know. A lot of horror, A, is just bad. Like there's so many bad horror movies, and B, they're just often just like a bummer, and I don't really like watching stuff that makes me sad, or like it can be sad, but I don't like a lot of horror movies just make you feel like really gross and depressed when you're done watching, and I don't really like that. But there's a lot of different genres of horror, especially nowadays. A lot of different stuff is getting made, so I'm open. I'm more open to it. But there's still a lot of stuff that just like really bums me out. Like for example, the Terrifier franchise is like, man, I just feel so gross after watching those movies. It's like how do I do not like empathize with people who enjoy those movies. It's like you and I are just fundamentally different people. So, but there are horror movies that I love. Like I love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, I love It Follows. I think that movie's amazing. I love The Shining, like most people. Any fun trips coming up? Not anything's planned, but I did tell myself that I was gonna take more trips. I might try to at least plan like a little lake getaway or something with friends before the year's up. But yeah, after that, who knows? I'll try. I'm definitely gonna try to do something next year. Do you think there's a difference between horror and gore genres? I would say, for instance, Saw is a gore movie. The Shining is horror. I don't know. I mean, I would say that gore is probably. Um, I don't know. You can categorize movies. I would probably just say gore, as you're describing it, is a subcategory of horror. Because really, the point of horror is just either to be scary or horrifying, and I think the Saw movies fit with that. But yeah, there's just a lot of different types of horror movies, and I think that that's one of them. But I don't know. I think gore is a little too broad because there are a lot of gory horror movies that are definitely horror movies. Like Terrifier, for example, is definitely a horror movie, but it's also very, very gory. Maybe like the goriest franchise I've ever seen, actually. But I would still say it's horror for sure. I think some of the Saw movies, it depends on which movie too, because a lot of them are not really even designed to be scary so much as just to show you people getting chopped up and stuff. But I think some of them, like the first one, I think is definitely kind of creepy. And some of the other ones are pretty creepy. Completely agree. A lot of horror makes me feel depressed after. I wonder if that has something to do with the come down from adrenaline, though. I mean, that's probably part of it, but also part of it is just like, man, I just watched something so fucked up that I don't feel good about it. And also, I mean, I'm kind of basic. I'm kind of a sap. I genuinely like for movies to have positive endings. Like a movie can have a sad ending if it's earned by the story, but when you watch a movie about people being tortured and terrified and fucked up for 2 hours, and then at the end there's just no catharsis for all of that, that kind of sucks. I I don't know. Like you really got to earn it if you're going to do like a sad or bad ending. What's up, D Long? Do you need to like the characters to enjoy a movie? Um to some extent, I need to like at least one of the protagonists, I think. And when I say like, I don't mean like I need to identify with them or think that they're a good person. I just need to find them believable or someone that I can root for. Um Because even you can have a movie. I'm trying to think of examples, but you can have a movie where the characters are not good people or they're grossly incompetent, but you still root for them for whatever reason. But I think it depends on the person because I'm like, for example, the Final Destination franchise, at least how it is now, usually it's just about six or seven terrible people that you watch die. And I think some people like that. That's just what people go to the movies for. They say, "Oh, this person sucks. Can't wait till they die in this movie." And that's not really how I engage with movies, but I appreciate that that's how other people engage with certain movies. But if I'm gonna watch a movie about some people, I would like the people to be interesting and you know, 3 dimensional and things of that nature. So that's what I would say when I'm talking about like liking the characters. What's the worst movie ever? The word. I mean, it's hard to describe the worst movie ever because there are so many. There's so many like terrible. low budget movies that have been made. It's almost not fair. Like there needs to be like a it needs to be separated in categories. Like it's very hard. Like if a movie has like a $200 million budget, and then another movie has like a $10,000 budget, it's kind of not fair to compare them, you know. So you can think about like the most disappointing movies ever, or like movies that that should have been good but were actually terrible, or movies that were surprisingly bad. Like one of the most disappointing movies that I've ever seen is the original Justice League movie. Like that's a movie that movie should have been a layup. That should have been a free, a free $1 billion, but they fumbled it very hard, and it's like actually bad. Like it's an actually bad movie. Apparently, Zack Snyder's cut is better, but I haven't seen it. I haven't brought myself to watch 4 hours of Justice League, but apparently it's better. Um, I just trying to think of like some truly bad movies that I've seen. Elektra, that's a really bad movie. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was the sequel to the Ben Affleck Daredevil, which a lot of people think is bad, and I guess it is bad, but I was able to enjoy it because I liked the character Daredevil and I like Ben Affleck as an actor. But if you think Daredevil was bad, Elektra was 10 times worse. Speaking of female superhero movies, I don't know why I can only think of superhero movies right now, but Catwoman, that's a terrible movie too. God, that movie's bad. It's even worse than Elektra. Leprechaun 4. Most of the Leprechaun movies are terrible, but I think it's Leprechaun 4 where they go to space. It's truly one of the worst movies ever made. I really liked American Psycho, and I think part of it is that I loathe all of the characters. Yeah, I see. I think that works because the movie. Well, I don't know actually, because I think that some people like that character, and there are moments where he's kind of likable, even. And I think that's part of why that movie is so memorable, is because it's like there are moments where you sympathize with the character, but you don't want to because you know that he's a psychopath, and you don't want to root for him. But I think that people there are people that genuinely think that character is cool. So I'm not sure. What about the ethics of making horror movies based off real life stories? For instance, the Monster series by Ryan Murphy. A lot of people online are saying it's not ethical to turn into entertainment the real life victims' deaths. Um. Well, I definitely wouldn't say like don't do it. Like I think any if someone's inspired to make art, that they should do it and just see how it comes out. And there's probably just different ways to handle it. Like you can handle things in a respectful way if you choose to. I don't really know how your particular example was executed. I've never seen it, but um it just yeah, I think it can be done well and it can be done poorly. It just depends on the case by case basis. Daredevil has a dope ass soundtrack though. Wake Me Up. Oh, is that song on that soundtrack? The issue with choosing worst movies is at a certain point, most bad movies become so bad they become good. So it needs to be just bad enough to be boring, but never so bad it becomes funny. Yeah, I mean, some movies are just bad though. I think the perfect example of that is the Batman movies. Like the original Tim Burton Batman movies. I think most people say that Batman and Batman Returns are good or decent. But they're definitely like very campy. But I think they still qualify as good movies. And then you have Batman Forever, and that's on the borderline. It's like it's very campy, but is this a good movie? But regardless, even if it is bad, it's still enjoyable. Like Jim Carrey's over the top. And then we have Batman and Robin, and it's very campy. But I think most people would be like, okay, you went way too far over the line to the point where this is not even so bad it's good. There are parts of the movie that are so bad it's good, but overall, that's just a bad movie. I can tell you the worst movie I've seen in a theater, Nope by Jordan Peele. I still don't get it. I don't agree with that. I like Nope, but I could understand why it might be confusing. Maybe we can help you get it because me and my friends had a big conversation about that movie after we watched it because we had to sort of decide what was happening and there were some debates about what things meant. Um, but yeah, I think it is a hard movie to understand the first time you see it. So I mean, that's a fair criticism. But I like that movie. I think Nope. I liked it more after like a second and third viewing. What about Leprechaun in the Hood? Here's the thing, and this is going to sound like a hot take, but if you actually watch these movies, you'll agree. Leprechaun in the Hood and its sequel, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, are the best Leprechaun movies. They genuinely are. Now that's not saying much because the Leprechaun movies are terrible, but of the Leprechaun movies, the Hood, the two ones that are in the Hood are the best ones. And like I said, it sounds like a hot take because you would not expect Leprechaun in the Hood to be one of the best Leprechaun movies. But if you go back and watch all the Leprechaun movies, I think it's like very clearly the best. I think Back to the Hood is even better than In the Hood. Do you prefer thrillers over horror? I don't. I'm not super. I don't really. I just like anything that's good. I don't necessarily have a specific genre preference. I'm down to watch anything that's good. The people who think Bateman is cool have holes in their brain and are ignoring 95% of the movie. I mean, that's one way to say it. I think that there are a lot of characters that people think are cool for probably toxic reasons. Like like there was this big thing about people really liking Joker or um like Cartman is another example. Cartman from South Park. A lot of kids I grew up with thought Cartman was hilarious and awesome, which I guess he's funny. That's it's a comedy show, but you're not supposed to like him, I don't think. um, so that happens a lot. Devil in Disguise on Peacock is pretty respectful. It mainly focuses on the victims and what was taken from them. Made me cry so hard. I never seen that one. Yeah, I think it comes down to respect. I don't like the Monster series because Murphy was very disrespectful of the victims. He used the real first and last name of one female victim, but completely made up a plot that the female victim had an affair with the murderer before he killed her. There was zero record of them. Yeah, it just I think execution is part of the thing. Sometimes you have a really good idea, or you even have really good intentions, but you just execute it poorly. That's just kind of what happens with art sometimes. And when it happens, I think it's fair to criticize it. Batman Returns is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I love Batman Returns. I agree. I can't I go back and forth on whether I like the original Batman or Batman Returns better. Nope is about humanity's relationship to spectacle, how we're drawn to it. Yeah, I would definitely say that's a big part of it. T1J Reluctant Leprechaun Scholar. It's just a thing that I happen to have seen. Did you watch Gone Girl? I did not watch Gone Girl, actually. People who build their identity around the Joker movie, I side eye hard. I still think Cartman is hilarious. He's definitely hilarious. I won't take that away from him. He's hilarious, but he's not a good guy. Another, well, I don't know if it's a good example. I was gonna say Doctor House is another character like that, but Doctor House is kind of cool in certain ways, but he's a tremendous douchebag. But it would make sense why people might admire him because he's like a genius and he's like usually right about everything. But I think the point of that show is that he's like a lonely asshole and he needs to be better. Been watching Buffy lately. I've never watched Buffy. That's one of those things, one of those cultural touchstones that was just never on my radar. I've never seen a single episode of Buffy. I've loved Cartman's character arc this season, though. I haven't really watched it. I watched the first episode, but I haven't watched any other of the South Park episodes. So I have no idea what's going on of the latest season. Well, honestly, I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah, I'm as I've said before, I'm a very basic person. Just give me a character that I can root for or a character that's interesting, and I'm down. But certain genres, I think this is something that happens with a lot of genre fiction, not even just movies. It's more about the concept or the setting than the characters in a lot of movies. And horror is guilty of this a lot, where it's really more about the monster or the villain or the atmosphere or the setting than it is about the characters. And this happens in books a lot. Um, Probably even on TV shows. I think TV. One of the reasons why I like TV probably the most out of all of the major sort of pop culture mediums is because TV shows tend to focus on characters, and I really like that personally. I That's what draws me into a story is the characters. Some people, you know, they love the settings, they love the lore and stuff, and I appreciate that. But the characters are really what I like, and that's why I love sitcoms so much. Is because sitcoms always focus on the characters. That's like what makes sitcoms. I think that's one of the defining features of sitcoms is that they're always character driven, and that's what I love, and that's kind of what I make videos about. How do you feel about Long Story Short? I have not seen that. What is that? I don't think I've even heard of that. Adult animated comedy drama on Netflix. Yeah, I'm not. I've never even heard of this. Interesting though. Problem with sitcoms is there's no space for character growth most of the time. I don't know if I agree with that. I think in older sitcoms that was more true because there was less like sort of serialized storylines because the way TV worked was you just sit down and watch an episode and you didn't necessarily they didn't necessarily expect you to be familiar with what happened before. So they didn't focus on a lot of like long-term growth. But something that I have learned from making videos about sitcoms that if you binge watch a show and keep track of a character over a long period, over like many episodes, you usually can see that the writers are trying to create arcs for these characters. Um, but if you think about it in today's time, more recent shows, I think most sitcoms today actually try to develop characters and give them arcs. Like if you're, older shows, maybe not quite as much, but with a little bit, I think that they think about it more than people gave them credit for. Like when I did my video about Elaine from Seinfeld and how she evolved over the course of that show, you know, maybe some of it was just, the writers were just trying, the writers flanderize their characters or whatever. But also, I really think that there's a lot of evidence in the show itself that I didn't have to make up, but a lot of evidence that supports that character's arc over the course of the series. And I think that happens more often than people give it credit for. But I think that's something you would only notice if you like literally binge watched a show and paid attention. It's good storytelling is indeed character driven. It's about the personal journey. It's by the BoJack Horseman team. It's less heavy as BoJack was. Like Friends, How I Met Your Mother, or Frasier, or Seinfeld, all those later seasons, there was no character growth or the growth was nonsensical. Well, I mean, it depends on if what by later seasons. Like a lot of times, the growth happens from season to season and not within the season. So like a character will be kind of set in stone for a full season, but then at the end of that season, something crazy might happen, and then in the next season, you'll see like how they reacted to that, and or the situation changed, things like that. Like even in Friends, for example, you said Friends. I think a lot of the characters went through different arcs. I think probably the most noticeable arc, at least off the top of my head, is probably Chandler. Like Chandler goes from being sort of this like pathetic sad sack to like really becoming kind of a stable functioning adult, and he like gets married and everything. So like you kind of see, and I think you can justify through the events of the show like what caused those changes in his life, like his relationship with Janice and his relationship with Kathy, and him you know starting to date Monica. So to some extent you have to use your imagination, or you have to look at subtext. A lot of things is not like outwardly screamed at you, but some of it's there. There's a little bit of it there. Yeah, maybe Rachel. I think Rachel is probably the closest thing to the main character of Friends. So yeah, I think that yeah, Rachel is a good candidate for having a really good arc as well. I honestly think that sitcoms, at least those old sitcoms, most of them went on way too long. Like, there's no reason for there to be 10 seasons of a show. That's just too long. Or there's no reason for there to be 10 seasons of a sitcom. That's way too long. I think 7 tops, closer to 5 and 6 is a good amount of seasons. 10 is way too much. 9 is way too much. Even if it's good, like in my opinion, I'm a fan of Friends, and I think Friends was good the whole run, but you kind of just run out of stories to tell. And even Seinfeld was pretty good. It has 9 seasons, but it's like, did you really need those last 2 seasons, bro? Probably not. I would think the Big Bang Theory is my candidate for went on for offensively too long. Yeah, I think that show went on too long. I can't think of any show that's more than 7 seasons where I'm like, I'm happy that this show stayed on this long. I don't think there's any examples. I mean, maybe It's Always Sunny, but I don't. That show. I don't even know what to say about It's Always Sunny. I feel like It's Always Sunny is just on a different plane of existence than other sitcoms. The thing is, though, It's Always Sunny has like 20 seasons or something, but the seasons are short. So in terms of length, it's actually not that much longer than something like, I think Seinfeld still, as of right now, has had more episodes than It's Always Sunny, even though It's Always Sunny has been on for like 20 years. Top 3 show recommendations. Top 3 show recommendations. So it's harder than it should be, because it's like, do I just say my 3 favorite shows, or do I say the 3 shows that I think other people would like the best, or do I say like the 3 most technically perfect show? So Parks and Recreation is definitely on that list. I think that's just like one of the greatest shows ever made, and it perfectly sort of represents. Like, I love Michael Schur. He's the guy who created Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine Nine, and The Good Place. He makes like the exact type of shows that I like. They're always like very positive and optimistic, but they always have like very good storytelling. But my favorite of those shows is Parks and Recreation. So that's on the list for sure. Um, maybe Roseanne. And I want to say, like, for example, my favorite show is probably The Cosby Show. But A, I think everyone's seen The Cosby Show. And also, it's kind of weird to talk about The Cosby Show these days. But probably my top three favorite sitcoms are The Cosby Show, Parks and Recreation, and Roseanne. But there's a lot of other shows you should watch. Like, if you've never seen The Good Place, you should definitely watch it. Everyone should watch The Good Place at least once. Um, and it's short, so you can binge it in like 3 days if you really put your mind to it. And there's like Broad City. I think if you've never seen Broad City, you should watch it. It's a very unique sitcom that I love, and everyone should watch it at least once. If you've never seen Schitt's Creek, you should definitely watch it. I actually like the later season of House MD. I know that's a minority opinion. Yeah, I think that show is solid. I don't really have any issues with House MD. That's just a pretty solid show across the board, I think. What sitcom is your favorite comfort show? In terms of comfort show, it would be Parks and Rec or Boy Meets World. In terms of just a show that I can just put on at any time and feel good about it, Boy Meets World or Parks and Recreation. I'm a 23-year-old guy from Indian origin. How can I deal with internalized racism? I'm a brown person and don't know why the world suddenly makes me feel ashamed of who I am. I mean, that's a tough one. I think you need to try to find communities, positive communities, and people to be around that don't make you feel ashamed of who you are, because they're definitely out there. Um, and the environment that you're in really matters. If you're spending a lot of time like reading the news or listening to idiots on social media say crazy stuff, then really got to get off that, turn it off, go touch some grass, go hang out with friends and family that actually care about you and love you, if possible. I really think what you expose yourself to and your environment uh, really affects that sort of thing. It just completely affects who you are and how you feel at all times. But yeah, I mean, this is rough times for certain groups of people, and there's a level of you. There's a level of you making the choice to just stand up for yourself and just be the person that you want to be. I don't know if this is like a controversial opinion, but I believe a lot of the things that we do in life are just choices that we make. Um, like having self confidence, having discipline, happiness, joy. I think these are all choices that you make. I don't think that these are things that are sort of externally given to you. Like you don't just wait around for self confidence and self esteem and happiness to just magically descend upon you. I don't think it works like that. I think you have to choose. You have to choose it. You have to choose to be confident. You have to choose to love yourself. You have to choose happiness, in spite of the negativity in the world. Um, so there's just sort of a onus on you to make the choice. Uh, in spite of what other people say, in spite of what the media says, in spite of what the president says, in spite of what people on social media say, you have to choose to believe certain things. Am I familiar with the Fargo TV adaptation? I've heard of it. I have never seen it. I care more about the messaging of media than the personal character of the media. Bad people can make good points, good art, good music that evoke good things. I um I agree completely. I've talked many times about separating art from artists. I'm a massive advocate of separating art from artist. Um I don't It's hard to really enjoy anything if you're unable to do that. Um so I can still watch something like the Cosby Show, but I'd be lying if I say that it does. You just don't. I just don't. I feel icky sometimes while watching it. It's hard to just watch a guy that you know is a villain. Just watch him doing shit. But I can still enjoy the show for sure. And it depends on the situation. Like in the case of like the Cosby Show, Bill Cosby's just one part of that show. It has his name on it, but there's dozens, if not hundreds, of people who came together to make that show. So, it's not just him. Um, so yeah, I'm a big advocate of separating art from artists, but you can't deny sometimes you just feel weird about stuff. You feel icky. Hey man, big fan, but haven't engaged in live stream much. Would love to ask you about D&D. Sure. I love D&D and I love talking about it. Versus Louis C.K. His stand-up is too similar to the behaviors he ended up being accused of. I just can't watch him without every third joke he says something off that reminds me. Yeah, and yeah, those are situations where sometimes the art and the artist is too close, and I think Louis C.K. is a decent example of that. The example I always go to is R. Kelly. Like R. Kelly made a lot of banger songs. He made some great songs, but it's hard for me to listen to R. Kelly songs without imagining that he is singing about a teenage girl. So it's kind of ruined for me at this point. I can't listen to R. Kelly anymore. So there are sometimes the art and the artist is too close. In particular, how do you feel about players playing characters outside their own gender or sexual preferences? I'm a straight white guy, so I have very little lived experience in those spaces, but enjoy playing a gay character in my campaign. How do I feel about it? I mean, I think that people can do it. I obviously I think you should try to be respectful, but at the end of the day, what you do at your private table is fine as long as all your friends are down. I have no interest in policing what people do in their private, their private activities with their friends. But in general, I would say just try to be respectful. You're not gonna nail it. You're not gonna be like, you're not gonna 100% nail what it's like to be a gay person if you're not gay, and you shouldn't expect to. So you should just do your best to just try to make a interesting character. I think the secret is to just play them like humans, because everyone's just a person. People have hopes and dreams. Like being gay doesn't change the fact that you're a person with desires and dreams. It doesn't, there's no like if you're trying to be like this is what a gay person would do, you're probably engaging in stereotype, which is probably not a good idea. But if you're playing with your friends at home and you're not being filmed, I think you should feel free to try stuff if your friends don't care. Like if you're being offensive to your friends, then that's one thing. But if no one cares, then just do whatever you want. There's no like no one's watching. But you know, if I understand what you're saying, like if you want to be thoughtful about it, I think the key is just remember that they're just the same as anyone else. Like I've experienced similar things where I had there one time I played in a game with a guy who, and this is kind of a probably a story a lot of people have heard, but I played in a game with a guy who was a straight guy, but he was playing a lesbian. He's playing a woman that was gay. But his way of playing a woman that was gay was to make sure that this woman tried to have sex with every other woman NPC that was introduced. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird, bro. Didn't know we agreed there. I feel like we're in a minority opinion these days. Most progressive takes are leaning towards purity testing these days. Yeah, I think you're probably well. I don't know about most progressive takes, but most of the takes that you hear on social media are definitely like that. And yeah, I don't really get down with that. I hate purity testing. This is one of the reasons why I don't do politics online anymore, is because I don't want to deal with that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I have no interest in purity testing. I just try to have compassion and be reasonable. And I think it's unreasonable to have the position that anytime you discover that someone who makes something that you like is bad, that means you are not allowed to engage with that media anymore. To me, that sounds unreasonable. Stopping by, hi bye. Hi bye to you as well. R. Kelly is a real sore spot for me. Some of those songs are too tied to happy memories of my youth for me to completely let go forever, but the nostalgia hurts doubly now. Yeah. And like I said, it's different for different people. Different people might have a different thing that makes them feel icky or weird, and that's fine. There's no like hard rules. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you feel icky for a while, but then after a while you get over it and you're like, well, I can deal with this now. Any advice for staying your own independent person and not going insane when pursuing new romantic interests? For staying your own independent person and not going insane. I don't know if I understand what you're asking. Um, what part of it is would make someone go insane, and what part of it would make you avoid being your own independent person? Like if you are interested in dating, you have to give up some independence. That's a big part of it. If you're like unwilling to give up some independence, then you probably shouldn't date people. But I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're asking. We all know that guy. Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's a pretty common D&D horror story, is the guy that wants to fuck everybody, or the guy that plays a girl that wants to fuck everybody. But you know, to me that just represents not understanding that women and lesbians are also people that are normal. Maybe not understanding, but at least definitely not internalizing it into the character that you're playing. Never offensive stereotype bullshit. I'm essentially playing Orville Peck, Bard Gunslinger, and he's no hot dog Bard. He's the saddest gay cowboy. Fair enough. Sounds cool to me. I do get the point of purity testing. That is, if you didn't notice what was off in this person's messaging, perhaps it's also off in your own thought process. That's totally true. I mean, that's totally possible. I just don't. It's not like the job of social media to psychoanalyze people like that, though. I mean, it's up to us to be introspective about the things that we engage in, and I think that most, you know, compassionate people do that. Like the issue is not like when you get criticized. The issue is when someone who is like well-meaning or someone who's trying to be a good person genuinely is still cast aside by the masses because of they said something the wrong way, or they supported something that is deemed problematic or whatever. Like that's the part that gets annoying. If someone genuinely is an asshole, I think it's fine for them to be criticized or shamed or whatever. Like, but if someone is genuinely like a good person, or at least trying to be a good person, and has never done anything to anyone, but like they did a voice in a Harry Potter game, and and people are like, oh well, you're participating in something problematic, so you are canceled now. Like that's lame. And yeah, and yeah. Also, the idea of being irredeemable, like one mistake and you're out for life. Some lesbians are normal, some are weirdos. Yeah, that's true of everyone though. That's true of all types of people. I'm a wrestling fan, as embarrassing as that is. Chris Benoit, Hogan, Vince McMahon, that's a loaded crew of nostalgia that's just flat out evil. Yeah, I'm also a wrestling fan, and I know what you mean exactly. But similar to what I was saying before, it takes more than one or two or three guys to make wrestling, to make WWE happen. There's hundreds of people that come together to make that stuff. Speaking of lame cancellations, did you see the whole Hassan shot caller discourse? I saw some of that. I don't really know the details. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's any more complicated than Hassan shocked his dog on stream and people were mad at it. If that's all it is, then yeah, I am familiar with it. But the thing is, a lot of people just don't like Hassan, so people are gonna people hold him to probably impossible standards. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even really know the ethics of that. I guess you probably shouldn't shock your dog. I don't really know. I don't I don't care though, I guess. But I guess if you are like really opposed to people shocking their dogs, then you'd be upset about that. But the fact that it's Hassan also probably, multiplies it by some factor. He was accused of using a shot collar even though he did not. Wait, is it confirmed that he didn't? I don't know the full thing, but I was under the impression that most people were sure that he did do that, even though that he said he didn't. But yeah, if he didn't, then yeah, that seems par for the course. The internet goes ham on the internet will definitely go ham on a nothing burger. That happens all the time. What's up, Fuyunoko? Thanks for stopping by. I personally have changed feelings re Gaiman and The Sandman. Once my favorite comic book, but I don't feel like opining on how others engage with it unless they whitewash the author themselves. Yeah, I have no interest in policing what other people do with in their private lives. Just dropping by to say I like your videos. Your earlier political stuff was genuinely helpful to a very white European guy. The newer stuff is insightful too, though in another way. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you stuck around after the political era. Wasn't counting on a high level convo about art versus artist separation tonight. Pretty fucking cool. The dog tripped and yelped. The tripping dog was used as proof. He shocked the dog, hence the yelp. He got on stream and showed the collar to prove it wasn't a shot collar, and people didn't believe him. Anti-fans were combing through thousands of hours of stream to find any instances of his dog yelping. People seem to be looking for reasons to cancel big streamers sometimes. Yeah, I mean I think this is I don't know if there's a name for this cognitive bias, but anytime someone reaches a certain level of popularity, everyone wants to take them down a peg. And it's not just a person, it's like anything. Anytime a thing is very, very popular, it just generates a lot of sort of unwarranted hate. I don't know if it's jealousy or people just like people are unhappy so they don't like when other people succeed. And there's like different levels of it too. I remember when I was like a small YouTuber, and you know, in some people's eyes I'm still a small YouTuber, but probably most of you would probably not describe me as a small YouTuber at this point. But I remember when I had like under 1,000 subscribers, I had like a decent little community. But then my channel started growing. And some of those people, I would see them in other people's comment section, or I would see them in other Reddit threads talking shit about me. Just because I don't know why, but just because my channel is a little bigger now, so I guess they didn't like. I was like, you know, one of the big guys now, so they didn't want to. They all of a sudden started hating. I don't know. There's something about it, and you see it with anybody that reaches a certain level. Like you see it with like Taylor Swift. People want to talk shit. People look for any reason to talk shit about Taylor Swift. You see, like Mr. Beast, people hate that guy for no reason, just because he's huge. As far as I can tell, Mr. Beast hasn't really done anything wrong except make some algorithmically optimized videos that may be a little obnoxious, but that's fine. So I think Hassan is in that category. He just blew up very quickly. Also, he's very political, which also brings in a lot of hate. I'm gonna head out. I really appreciate your channel. First day of rehab for booze is a tough time. This helped. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Hope you get some good sleep. Once something goes mainstream, it ain't cool anymore. I mean, Mr. Beast is way worse than Hassan. Hassan has like principles outside of making money. See, this is kind of what I'm talking about. And so, a lot of YouTubers study Mr. Beast because he unlocked he figured out how to get views at will. So he's like a study. A lot of YouTubers study him, including myself. So I've watched a lot of Mr. Beast, and I promise you that his principle is not making money. And I think that this is sort of like this is like one of those things that has generated around Mr. Beast because people hate this guy for no reason. But I promise you, making money is not on his list of priorities. Like if you watch a lot of Mr. Beast, that becomes very clear. Like he doesn't give a shit about money at all. But that's just one of the things that, if anything, he gives a shit about views, which may be even less, maybe even more frivolous. But making money is not what he cares about. But that's sort of the zeitgeist around Mr. Beast. That's what people say about Mr. Beast because everybody hates him. He makes a lot of money, and maybe you might think that when someone makes a lot of money, that's what they care about. But you should like have evidence of that if that's what you think. I don't think it's possible for me as an individual to find out what is actually happening in Hassan's house with the amount of drama and information about it. Yeah, I mean, well, that's just. I mean, no one knows. Like these streamers and internet celebrities. No, y'all don't know. No one knows them. We don't know these people. Everything that we think about these people is through sound bites and hearsay. Unless you like literally are watching hours and hours of Hassan's content, and even in that case, there's a side of him that he presents to the public. He has a whole life outside of that. I know he spends like maybe like 75% of his life online, but he's a whole person outside of his stream. So everything that we know about Hassan is based on the sound bites that we hear and the clips that we watch. It's all out of context. And that's just how it is for most people. The issue I have with Mr. Beast is this faux altruism is used to make all of his cash grabs look ethical. See, I don't want to be like in the position of like going to bat for Mr. Beast, but how do you know that how do you know that the altruism is fake? What do you think his main priorities are? I think that, well, I don't know him, but going off what he says, his main priorities are getting views on YouTube and making good YouTube videos. The man is obsessed with YouTube. Now, he probably has other priorities, like I think he's really invested in his in Feastables, his candy bars. So that's probably a big thing. But throughout the years, what he has always said is that he is obsessed with YouTube and just wants to make the best videos and get the most views. He definitely doesn't give a shit about making money. He loses money on most of his videos. I think his candy bar company is like where most of his income comes from now. Okay, if someone spends 75% of their time online, couldn't we say the viewers know him better than the people in his personal life in some ways? Um, no, because when he's online, he's presenting a version of himself. He's presenting a fragmented version of himself. Um, but I think someone who sits and watch Hassan every day probably knows more about Hassan than someone who only watches clips and sound bites and stuff. Like he's a human being, he probably appreciates doing things for other human beings and it makes him feel good. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone is very cynical. I've watched a lot of long form interviews with him, and he cannot stray for more than 2 minutes from here's how I made this bigger, more popular. So I don't think he talks about his altruism in interviews that much. So he you if he talked about it more, you would think it was less fake. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's fake. A lot of people don't even know that Mr. Beast has a whole second channel devoted entirely to charity and philanthropy. A lot of people are familiar with the things that he does on his main channel, but he has like a whole company um devoted to charity and philanthropy. And philanthropy has always been like a big part of his content. Like one of the first viral videos he did was, well, I mean, a lot of his movies are, I mean, a lot of his videos are just giving people money, you know. But I don't know. I'm not interested in like reading people's minds, and I don't. I think trying to trying to like psychoanalyze people's inner thoughts is like, I don't know. I don't find that very interesting. I just kind of go off what people say and what people do. But like, I'm not super here to defend Mr. Beast, but I think I probably know a lot more about Mr. Beast than most people, just because I've like watched a lot of his stuff because it's just a thing that people who make YouTube videos do because they try to figure out how to get more views. But it's interesting to see sort of like people make criticisms about a guy that they kind of don't know anything about. It because it's all, it's just all like sound bites. It's the same thing with Hassan. That's why I don't really talk about Hassan that much, because the only thing I know about him is from discussions and sound bites and clips and stuff. Can you make more videos about alternate timelines and shows? Also time travel? Maybe. I can't. It would be weird to make the same video again, but if I can come up with a different angle, I think the lottery kind of spectacles for money are pretty inhumane. Lottery? I mean, he just, I don't know. They're just game shows. I mean, unless you think like all game shows are inhumane, then that's, I guess that's an opinion you can have. But I mean, Mr. Beast videos, they're just like game shows basically. Um, Disliking people does not need to be super informed as long as you know it's not informed. Um, I don't agree with that, but that's, I guess that's an opinion. I guess it's your prerogative to hold that view. I think it is. I think it is not virtuous to hate someone when you don't have any information about them. I think that's irrational. Or dislike someone. It's prejudgment. It's literally prejudice. Have you read any good books lately? Um, Not really. I need a good book to read. I spent like all of 2024 and a little bit of the early parts of 2025 reading a lot of personal development books and like nonfiction books and just books that helped me, that were designed to help me get better at stuff. So I read a book about videography. I read a book about marketing. Um, I read some books about building better habits, things like that. And that's kind of like all I've read recently. And some of them are good, and some of them are okay, and some of them are not that good. Um, it's been a long time since I've read an actual fiction book. I would like a nice, easy fiction book to read. Yeah, I think there's a difference between disliking someone and having boundaries. And you know, actually, negative energy towards a person like that requires effort and choice. You know, you have to like go out of your way to be like, I don't like this guy, and I feel like, and I guess it maybe it feels good to dislike people. Like there's a little, I don't know. I think it literally gives you a little bit of dopamine when those negative emotions come up, but I don't know that it is healthy. But I don't know. I think in general, just in general, I mean, we live in a society that we live in an outrage culture where people are kind of looking for things to be outraged about, and I try to oppose that as much as possible. I think people should be more, I don't know, more compassionate and evidence based, and like I think that most people are not evil, and I think we live in a world where we're just looking for evil in everyone. I think sometimes people are foolish. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people are in over their heads. So sometimes people can do things that aren't necessarily good, but there's got to be some level of grace. Now, obviously, there are also people who are like actively malevolent and just actively just don't give a shit and will do everything they can to will take advantage of people and harm people without caring about it. But I truly don't think most people do that. Related to being a content creator and all the discipline that requires, George Carlin once said that willingness to do hard work is genetic. Do you agree? I have no idea. I don't know. If there's probably a genetic component to it, but I imagine that would require someone who is like studied in genetic science to really know whether that's true or not. And I am not that person. But I do think that the willingness to do hard work is something that can be taught. But I think I think most things like that probably have a combination of genetic and environmental components. But if I take myself as an example, if the willingness to do hard work is genetic, then I don't have that gene. I don't. However, as I've gotten older, I've had to try and train myself to have more discipline and be more willing to do stuff to work. So if it is genetic, I think it can also be taught. What's your go-to example of a nice fiction book? Like, is it a genre like fantasy or crime? I don't know. Uh, I think I could be interested in like a fantasy or sci-fi type stuff, but probably just anything. I mean, I think the last fiction book that I read and really liked was like The Fault in Our Stars or something like that, which is not a which is like a young adult romance novel, but um similar to what I said earlier, I don't know who was here, but I just like anything that's good. I'm not like super specific about genres. If it's character driven, that helps. I really like character driven stories. And a lot of genre fiction sometimes focuses more on the setting than the characters. I did read the first two of Lindsay Ellis's books, and they were cool. It was something interesting. But yeah, anything that's good. You sound like an optimist. Um, I don't really think of myself as an optimist. I guess I could see why people would say that. But I think I don't know. To me, that's the most rational position. I think assuming that most people are evil, I think is just an irrational position that's not supported by reality. Um, in terms of optimism, I feel like optimism implies that you believe that everything is gonna be okay, and I don't think that. I think humans are like doomed pretty much. But it's not because humans are evil. It's because humans are emotional and selfish and impulsive, and we've got caveman brain. We're apes, and I don't think we're sort of built for the type of civilized society that we imagine. I don't think we're gonna do it. Possibly there's some future society like several millennia in the future that is more evolved than we are that can figure that out. But we definitely not us. So I would not describe myself as an optimist. Um, but I just think the evidence suggests that most people are just trying to live their lives and be happy. Most people are not trying to screw other people over. Should people be more chill? Not necessarily. It depends on what you mean by chill. I think people should be more open minded and people should be more patient. But you know, I everybody can't be chill. There needs to be some people that aren't chill. Like there needs to be people that are willing to, go out and yell at some people when it needs to be done. Saying hardworking is genetic sounds kind of eugenic themed to me, getting close to kind of problematic rhetoric. I mean, maybe it just depends on if it's true or not. I mean, if it's possible that it's true, but I just don't know that it is. I thought it was fine to judge people for silly stuff like not liking things I liked as long as I knew it was silly, but I noticed it had a lot of negative downstream effects on my mood as a whole. Yeah, absolutely. It can turn you to just like a very bitter and judgmental person. I kind of used to be like that as well. A snob. And people just don't like people like that. That's like in the like when I was growing up, we called them haters. And people just haters are people that people just tend to not like. I don't think I need to pass a moral judgment to dislike something. It's more like this is not for me. That's cool, but sometimes it is a moral judgment. Like, when you say I think this guy is being fake in his altruism, that sounds like a moral judgment to me. I don't know if you're I don't mean to go back to an old conversation, but sometimes it is expressed as a moral judgment is all I'm saying. Pika pika. I think society would be better for all of us if we could more clearly draw the line between not for me and that's wrong. I definitely agree with that. Did I play Pikachu in Smash Brothers? Um, it wasn't my main. In Smash 64, I main Jigglypuff. In Melee, I main Peach. In Brawl, I main Snake. In Smash 4, I main Ike. No, in Smash 4, I main Falco. And in Smash Ultimate, I main Ike. We're random, capricious, irrational, moody water balloons drifting through life, telling ourselves stories to give things structure. Pretty much. And we could create a peaceful world where we all took care of each other and shared resources. We're capable of doing that, but I do not think we're ever going to. So, in that case, I think I would not describe myself as an optimist. Hey, TJ, hope you're doing well and happy. I am doing well and I am happy. Thank you. What would you have been a snob about? I was kind of a snob about everything. When I was in high school and early college, I basically kind of thought that I was smarter than everyone, so the things that I liked were the correct things to like. Um, trying to think of specific examples. Like I don't know, like music for example. I used to be like really into very conscious lyrical rap music, like Talib Kweli and Most Def and Common, and I still like that. But in high school, that was like my shit, and I was like very opposed to like the more mainstream rap music that was more like more less lyrical and more about drugs and sex and money and stuff. And I used to go hard about that. These days, I understand the point of that kind of music. I mean, for one, it's just it sells well, but different types of music has different purposes. If you're at the club, you don't want to listen to Most Def. You just don't. If you're at a party, you're not playing fucking Common. You're playing like Lil Jon the East Side Boys or whatever was popular back then. Uh, I had a strong emotional reaction to the guy, which I can only control, and have not done a deep dive. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not trying to call you out or anything, but it's just interesting to me because there's a lot of people have hot takes about Mr. Beast, and I find that a lot of them are not super informed. But I'm sure that you this is not something that you're probably not even going to think about it again as soon as the chat ends. Like I understand that. Have I ever considered making content about anime? Not really because I don't watch anime. I've thought about making a a series about watching anime shows for the first time. Speaking of hot takes, I've had a hot take about anime, but my hot take, and honestly, this is an example. Probably my hot take about anime is uninformed because I haven't watched it since I was like in high school and college, and it's probably a lot different now, or at least it has evolved. But a lot of the anime that I grew up watching is not good in my opinion. But you know, a lot of people love that shit. But that kind of like turned me off from anime, and then I kind of like gave it up. But I bet there's probably a lot of newer ones that I would like. T1J fighting for his friends in Smash. Oh, hell yeah! I fight for my friends. Although they did sort of really nerf the shit out of Ike in that game. Like he was really good when the game came out, and now he's probably one of the worst characters. Well, that in and of itself is interesting. Why a lot of people have strong, not informed opinions about him. Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying before, where once someone gets to a certain level, there's just like it like activates the hateration. It's just a thing that happens. People just, I think just, I think part of it is just the imbalance of like, what did this person do to get like why are they so popular? Like that's just another human being. Why do they get to be rich and famous? Um, so I think a lot of times people just think that rich, successful people need to be taken down a peg. Mr. Beast is an interesting case just because he's a weird guy. It's hard to understand. It's hard to know like what he's thinking because he's like I don't know, man. He's like he might be on the spectrum. I'm not sure. But he has like, especially now, like as time goes on, he really has like dead eyes. He looks like he has no soul. Like it so I can understand when people like see him and be like, that guy weirds me out. Um, I'm probably gonna I'll probably end the stream in about 15 minutes though. I just realized it's already been 2 hours. But that's I don't know. That's one thing that I think social media, and again, I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I think social media has normalized hot takes, and so there, it's like I try my best to not have these super hot takes unless I'm like absolutely sure I know what I'm talking about. But having hot takes is a good way to get attention on the internet, for sure. If I do have hot takes, I try to have them about stuff about like sitcoms or something something that's not that personal. And even with like Mr. Beast, it's not that I think he's like perfect or anything, or that I think that everything he does is like nothing he does is problematic. But I think most of the things that he gets criticized for are just kind of uninformed. But I think the thing with him is, like I said, he's obsessed with YouTube and he's obsessed with getting views on YouTube, which is probably not healthy. And if you watch like more recent interviews with him, he is clearly like exhausted and like overwhelmed. And like I don't know, I think he's maybe like lost his sense of self. I don't know. That's me. That's a little that speculation is that's pretty high speculation, but he definitely seems to be like exhausted. Like if you look at old interviews of Mr. Beast, he seems so happy. Not anymore. And also I think a lot of people just uncomfortable with like extreme displays of wealth, which he definitely is guilty of. I don't necessarily care about that. Like if you've got money, like what else are you gonna do with it? But especially if you make your money from entertaining people, like it's like what else are you gonna do? But that's how it goes. Yeah, I mean, eyes have no soul is a little bit. I'm guessing that he probably would not appreciate me saying that his eyes have no soul, but that's just the first thing that came to my head. He has kind of this blank smile, and again, that just maybe that's just how he looks, but um, and again, when you're like a public figure, a lot of times you do have to fake stuff, you know. Like me talking to you guys right now, I'm talking like way louder than I would normally talk, but I'm projecting in a certain way. You might even call it a little bit of a performance, but I'm just trying to be engaging on the stream, and I'm not necessarily doing it consciously. I'm just trying to. I'm imagining that I'm talking to however many people are here, and if I was doing that, I would project. And it's so we all do an act to an extent, but when you get to a certain level, you probably have to do it more than others. Did you go to the No Kings rally? I did not. But I think there's any day now, Mr. Beast could do something unarguably heinous, and I think most people would be like, "See, I told you." So I'm halfway expecting that to happen. But yeah, as far I don't know, I don't go to rallies and protests. I feel like, especially nowadays, there's too much there's too much potential for that to go awry or for something crazy or violent to happen, and I just there's no reason for me to risk that for myself. I'm just not interested in risking that for myself. I would participate in the ways that make sense for me. But I definitely support I support the message behind the No Kings protests. I'll put it that way. I don't do politics online. I don't make videos about politics anymore, but I do think it is important for me to not be shy about what I believe, especially if it comes up. And my videos are informed by are always going to be informed by my views, my worldview, and stuff like that. Like I got a since I don't make videos about politics anymore, I get a lot of viewers now who are from just across the political spectrum. Like when I was only making politics, my channel was like mostly just progressives and liberals and leftists and stuff. But now I get a big mix of a lot of different people, and every now and then they reveal themselves. Like in my alternate timeline videos, I do the bit where I say that Trump being the president is the bad timeline and Kamala being the president is the good timeline. I got quite a few comments of people who are mad about that. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But I don't know. There's like if you can't tell that if you can't tell that Trump is a con man, like your bullshit detector is like super broken. Like even beyond policies and things that you have to like be informed about and pay attention to. If you can't just like listen to Donald Trump speak for 10 minutes and not immediately be like, "Oh, that guy's full of shit." Like y- you're you're not like a serious person. Like I feel like there's a level of basic critical thinking that we should be expected to have, I think. And a lot of people just don't have it. And this is not exclusive to people who like Trump, but and I do think there are a lot of people who like Trump who know that he's full of shit, but they support him anyway because he hates the same people that they hate, or at least he purports to hate the same people that they hate. So I think there are a lot of people that fully know what's going on, but there's also a lot of people that just have really broken bullshit detectors. Being a serious person is not a requirement to vote. That's true. And that's why they say democracy is the worst system except for all the other ones. I'm waiting for someone to come up with a better system than democracy, because democracy is scary. It's just the best we've come up with so far. Like, if you live in America, you live in a country where Donald Trump. As far I know, there are a lot of people who say like, it's not possible that Donald Trump actually was elected in a fair election. But at this point, this is what we have to assume is the case, and then we have to think about the fact that we live in a country where Donald Trump was elected by humans, like real people. But that just goes back to what I was saying before about humans being emotional, impulsive, and we're just not very civilized, because we get so mad at the way things currently are that we're willing to bring in something even worse. It's completely irrational, but we're just so impulsive that we do stuff like that. I just became sort of cognizant of the fact that I'm sitting here in a Pikachu onesie talking about politics. Democracy is the worst system. That's it. That's the tweet. Plato. It's really difficult to listen to some voters and not think we must protect this person from themselves. Yeah, there's I don't know like how often, like when I was more into politics, I used to like debate people a lot, not publicly, but like, on a social media thread or just in a one-on-one conversation. And people people just kind of believe whatever they want to believe. Um and this kind of goes for everyone. Most people are just not prepared to conceive of the fact that they might be wrong about the things that they believe, especially if it's like a deeply held belief. Like you can ask someone, what would it take for you to stop believing the thing that you believe? You can ask them, and then they'll tell you the thing that they think if you showed it to them that would make them change their mind. And then you could show them that thing and they will still continue believing what they believe. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn. I used to be one of those marketplace of ideas guys that thought if you just present the best ideas, then the best ideas will win because the best ideas make the most sense. They're evidence based, they're logically sound, and then people will have no choice but to accept the good ideas because they're true. Doesn't work like that at all. Not even close. Greeks had a good system, local self-regulating government, city-states, and open forum of local topics. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd be willing to try anything at this point. Well, not anything. I shouldn't say that. Best political commentary is coming from people wearing frog costumes in Portland. I think I saw that. Why is it always frogs? But yeah, yeah, the world's rough. But I still think that we should be kind to each other and be patient with each other and be charitable to each other. A lot of people say that respect is earned, but I disagree. I think disrespect is earned. I think I think just being a human by default should earn you respect. And then if you do something to earn disrespect, then that's on you. What do you think will happen in 2028 in terms of will he run again? I mean, probably not. But honestly, I sort of gave up trying to predict what Trump was going to do a long time ago because when I do, I'm usually wrong. I didn't even think he was going to run the first time. But there's no good way for him to try to run again. Like I get like he could literally just completely defy everything and just show up. I'm not sure what would happen if they did that. Also, he's really old. I kind of don't think he wants to run again. Maybe he does. But I think he's old and he's like sickly. I think he's like in poor health. Since when has there's no good way ever stopped him? Yeah, but they usually try to create some kind of bullshit loophole or like use executive orders or just something like that. But there's like literally nothing that they can do on this. On this one, they literally have to say, we are choosing to openly break the rules. I don't know how else they would frame it. Like, obviously, everything that they do now is like nonsense, and they're like, you know, ignoring court orders and breaking the law here and there. But they always have some sort of like miniature like loophole or like they always have something that they can say, even if it's wrong. But they don't really have anything on this. All right, Fisher friends, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the lively conversation. I'm probably going to end the stream here in a sec myself, actually. Cooking with Silence, what's up? Happy Halloween. People are looking at the ballroom and saying no one who intends to leave in 3 years builds that and then leaves. Maybe. Maybe he's going to try to get someone in his family to run. Whoa. But yeah, I think it's probably a good time to go ahead and end the stream. That's a good, maybe a good note to end on. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for checking out this stream. Thank you for the lively conversation as always. I'm streaming. I'm doing my best to stream every Thursday and Friday. Thursday is the gaming stream. I'm currently playing through Disco Elysium on stream. So if you're interested in that, check me out Thursdays at 6 p.m. And I do another stream like this on Friday. So check me out next Friday. The best way to keep track of the stream is to make sure you have all notifications turned on YouTube. Do more political bits. Probably, if you want me to talk about politics, the best way would be to catch me on stream. That's kind of the only time I talk about it. Um, and I don't really think of myself as like that politically enlightened these days because I've set like some very strong barriers in terms of like how much politics I consume. So I'm not nearly as informed as I once was, but you know, I have opinions on things. If it can be described to me, I can give you an opinion on it. But you know, in general, the way that I see the world is, you know, be nice to people. Say things that are true and be nice to people. That's mostly it. But yeah, thanks for checking out the stream. I think I said my piece. And be nice to people. Say things that are true and be nice to people. That's just a good way to be in general. Be kind to each other. Even though I don't have much hope for the future of humanity, that doesn't mean that we can't help each other as much as we can to survive and just live as happy a life as we can. So yeah, that's about it. If you haven't seen my last video, I came out with a video about a week ago. It's about The Office. So if you're interested in watching a video about The Office, check out my channel. There's a video. But yeah, I gotta go. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.